So guys, I want to talk about faith. I found myself many times struggling with this concept, with this state of consciousness in the past. Because when you have a very rational mind, when you have a strategic mind, when you like to control your reality, the processes that are happening in your life, and even when you work on a manifestation, but you have that controlling behavior, you want to do everything right, you want to follow all the right rules and processes in order to manifest something. You can then get lost very easily because you lose that particular state of consciousness, which is faith. Faith, at least to me, seems very irrational as a state of consciousness because it's connected to the idea of surrendering to something which you don't really understand fully, to surrender to a force or an intelligence which you do perceive at some level, but you cannot quite contain, you cannot quite totally understand. And so it's like proceeding blindfolded in a sense. And this is why I've been struggling with faith in the past years. What has really taught me to have faith, I think it's suffering. It's deep, profound confusion and suffering. Because when you find yourself in that dark night of the soul and you have no ability then to control things, you finally understand that you have in the end no control over the circumstances of your life. You have no real power. And what before seemed to be, a skill, an ability to be strategic, to put everything in the right order, then when you fall down, when you really fall into a very deep hole, which is a profound suffering and confusion, then that strength is not there anymore. And so the only thing you can do is really having faith. That's when you ask for help, when you call God. And that's a very precious moment. It has been in my experience, and it is still a precious moment sometimes when I lose track, in my life, when I lose this ability to have faith. And so in that profound suffering, that's when you really can find the frequency, let's put it like this, of faith, because it is a frequency. It's the frequency of surrendering. It's the frequency also of letting go of what you think are your desires. Because many times we work on a desire we have, and we may be working on that for years, but it doesn't manifest. It doesn't come true. We find obstacles, and everything seems a struggle. Many times that's because that desire is not really ours. Maybe that desire is coming from our ego. Maybe that desire is coming from our mind, or is something that is triggered by a fear. We are running away from something, and so we desire something else. It's triggered by an anxiety, a fear. And so that kind of desires, in the end, need to fall away because they are not true. They are not true to our heart. And so another thing very interesting that happens when you really start to have faith is that you start more and more recognizing the vibration of your true desires. And many times these true desires of our hearts are really simple. Basically, what we all want is to be loved, is to feel in connection with everything, is to feel good, is to feel happy. Then we build upon this basic desire so many other things, because everyone has a passion, has a skill, everyone has a direction, has a resonance. So one wants to feel loved by painting, one wants to feel loved by talking, one wants to feel loved by taking care of something or someone. So there are so many jobs, so many things, so many passions that you can follow. But that comes at a second stage. The first thing we need to understand is that basically we all want to be loved. And so this is where faith comes into the process. Because the basic need to feel and be loved, and also to love in return, it's very connected to the vibration of faith. Faith is very simple, you know. Look at children. Children have an immense amount of faith in life and in their parents. That's the kind of vibration I'm talking about. But it's kind of harder to really feel that vibration when you are an adult, because we live in a society which is basically ill. You know, we live in a business model which is based on competition, on profit at all costs. So you need to be someone who is always acting, who is always strategic, who is very rational, who keep control of everything. And this way you are considered an efficient human being. So faith is quite the opposite. Faith is just letting go of all the need to control your life, but still do your job. And this is where it becomes really a game of balancing, because you are not a children anymore, you are an adult, so you need to earn your wage, you need to do the stuff that you need to do every day, but at the same time you need to learn faith, so you need to let go of this need to control everything and just open yourself to something else that can then guide you, which is faith, and from faith comes intuition. So I think that a part of recognizing faith, as I said, a very important part is when you are deeply suffering, when you have no real option to do anything else than having faith, because that's when you understand that you have, in the end, no control over the circumstances of your life. You can just embrace something which is still you, it's also bigger than you, and can guide you. But then practicing faith is another thing, because I think it's very important to practice this vibration daily. It means that when you find yourself in a situation where, you know, you are struggling a little bit, you feel uncomfortable a little bit, you feel this need to resolve the situation, to find an answer, to find a solution, instead of going on the internet, you know, and typing, searching and struggling for a solution, or starting to do something in order to solve the situation quickly, you may just pause yourself for a moment, take a deep breath, and repeat to yourself, I have faith. I have faith is a very important mantra, and it's used worldwide. It's very simple, but when you attach this very simple mantra to your breathing, so you breathe in, have faith, you breathe out, and you let this breathing becomes extremely slow, extremely calm and deep, then this is one way to practice faith. And do not try to do it when you are really, really suffering, you're really, really in a struggle, because that's a precious moment, as I said, but it can be quite difficult to find that vibration of faith. So I find it's best to practice faith really daily, in the little things of your life, you know, in the little obstacles, in the little problems. Whenever you find a little bit uncomfortable with something, whenever you find a little bit stressed out by something you have to do, just practice this having faith. It takes a bit of time if you have never done it, because in the beginning it may just seem, you know, repeating a word, and you're not really feeling and feeding into that particular frequency. But by practicing it, as by practicing everything really, it becomes easier. And what happens, at least in my experience, is that you really start feeling that basic feeling of security. You know, just like when you are a little child and you know there are your parents there, so you can just play and you can just wander around and explore the world, and you have faith that there will be something supporting you. Everything will be good in the end. That's quite similar, the sensation you have about faith, because at least when I'm a bit stressed out and I start practicing faith by breathing, by repeating the mantra, or just by, you know, by being in the presence of faith, by remembering to myself to have faith, by not trying to go into that struggle of finding immediately a solution, but letting that solution come naturally in time. When I do this, there's this basic feeling of relaxation, of all is good. And so it's really quite nice. It's really quite nice to experience, and it becomes kind of an addiction. You need to practice faith more and more and more. The more you become able to feel faith about life, the more you need to feel faith about life. It's just when you find yourself facing a problem, you don't have that urge anymore to find a solution, but you let the solution come to you. And that there's another interesting thing that happens when you start doing this, when you start letting the solution come to you, which is that you have, in a sense, to let go more and more of your need to control reality. So you may want something to go in a certain way, you may want to find a solution in a certain way, you want to manifest a certain thing in a certain way, but this has no sense when you start practicing faith, because faith puts you completely on a different level, which is so much bigger than what your mind can grasp. And so you have no ability usually to let go things in that way that your mind thinks. So the solution that may come to you is usually something different or something much easier, much simpler than what you thought. It can even be something that, you know, you're not quite happy about in the beginning, because there's still maybe in you that need to control reality, that expectation of something, how this thing should be. So there are all kinds of different things that happen to you when you start practicing faith, and you really need to keep practicing it, because the urge to control reality may come back. And for me, it has been kind of a process of understanding, and it still is a process because I'm still doing it, understanding faith and really letting go more and more and more, basically, of the tension of the ego, that tension to control reality, you know, to be the master of reality, because the ego is just a tool, it's just an instrument. So the master is something else. The master is the energy that comes to you through faith and guides you in life. Again, it's like being guided by blindfolded in the beginning, but you have to have faith. That's why it's called faith. And so in the end, it's so much less stressful to be guided this way. If you can have faith in that hand, in that force that is guiding you, if you can appreciate the solutions that come to you, even if you don't like them, even if your ego is creating resistance, your mind is not grasping them, if you can learn to flow with this, in the end, you will have a so much easier life. It may not be the life that your mind is dreaming of, but it will be a so much greater life, full of surprises. It may seem in the beginning a life, you know, where you are renouncing desires, when you are renouncing to your ambitions. But if you keep practicing, it comes a time when you realize that those ambitions were just false idols. And there is another kind of ambition which is not anymore called ambition, which is a true desire of your heart, a true desire. And you finally find the ability to feel connected to everything, to love everything without discrimination, and to feel loved by everything. That's when faith really kicks in your life, and you start living with faith moment after moment. I'm not quite there, because I still get lost sometimes, I still get stressed out, but I'm starting to feel that possibility, like by practicing daily this vibration of faith, I'm starting to understand more and more where it can lead me if I just keep letting go of the need of my mind to control life. It can lead me to a paradise. It's really a paradise on earth, what you live when you start having faith. And you can see the proof of this on the faces, on the big smiles of those people, not only spiritual teachers, but even very simple persons that are living with faith. Those persons are really living in love with life, in love with reality all the time. And this is a greater gift we can hope to have in our spiritual seeking. So let's practice faith, and basically there's no more to it. It's a really simple vibration. we can talk and talk and talk about faith, but in the end it's just something you have to start practicing by letting go of all the things that you don't need and stay in that simple, simple, simple vibration. You become again a child, and you know the ancient teaching, when you become a child, then you can enter the paradise on earth, then you can enter the new kingdom. So that's all for today, folks. Till next time. Blessing.